We are live. JT here. Welcome to The Huddle. The Huddle is where I sit down with successful people from the world of sport and coaching. It's to learn more about their journey to greatness. Why do I have these conversations? Because success always leaves clues. I just want to take a moment just to thank you for joining me and my special guest today. Whether you are watching as we stream live into the Facebook community, whether you are watching the replay on YouTube, whether you're listening to the recording on the podcast, thank you so much for choosing to be here with me and my special guest today. And I guarantee that if you commit to going all in and really listening to this conversation, I know you will get at least one valuable nugget of information, of wisdom that you can apply to your life that will help you not only be great in sports, but it will help you be great in the game of life. I've been looking forward to my conversation today. My guest and I, we connected a few months ago, and that's what I would say one of the beauties of this last 18 months is it's really given us an opportunity to slow down, to connect, even if it's virtually. Like connection, you can still connect virtually. And it really allowed us to realize that, yes, we have that connection, that connector, that Western football brotherhood, but our paths have come back together here. My guest in the huddle today, as I was mentioning, is a Western football alum. He is the owner of Redline Athletics Canada, where he is changing lives and up to lots of exciting things. My guest in the huddle today is Brendt Barrett. How are you today, brother?
JT, I'm good, man. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, you know what, brother? Our conversations, we've had some great conversations, and I thought, you know what, we just got to share a little bit of greatness with others and help be that shining light for someone else today.
Absolutely, man. I couldn't agree more.
Okay. First things first, brother, I want to take a moment just to send you some gratitude. You know, again, I know it's an interesting time right now in the world. So I'm just so grateful that you were able to carve out some time to share your journey with me and our community today. And thank you for blessing us with your presence.
The pleasure is all mine, JT. I love what you're doing out here. I'm a subscriber. I follow your show. I watch what you do, and bro, it's awesome. I can't extend just how happy I am to be here, man. I love what you're doing.
Awesome, brother. I appreciate that. Thank you. So one of the first things that I always like to remind people is that life is a game and games are supposed to be fun. So I'm curious, what is an interesting fact, maybe like a fun quirk that you have that you would feel comfortable sharing with our community?
Fun quirk. I have some pretty crazy food addictions. I'm addicted to Gatorade. Like, I'm absolutely addicted to Gatorade. I haven't had it in over, a year and a half or so. Because it's not great for health, especially after playing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm addicted to it. And
Okay.
and I'm addicted to sherbet as well.
Okay.
So these are things that I've had to manage throughout my
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, right? It's a little bit easier when you're active and you're that high level athlete because you just burn everything off, where when we get a little bit, let's say a little bit later in our journey, got to be a little bit more mindful, intentional, right?
Exactly, man. It's different when you got a dad bod. You got a dad bod, you got to take it easy and stuff like that.
I love it. I'm curious, what's your flavor of choice? Is there a flavor?
Probably orange.
Okay.
Probably have to say orange, man.
Okay. Hey, you know what? Orange is, as my wife tells me, that scent of orange is abundance, prosperity, wealth. So, hey, maybe that's why, because you've built such a wealthy life, brother.
Well, I think it's a good way to chase prosperity through orange sherbet. So,
hey, I love it. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I would love to know, brother, is you had a successful career first as a high level athlete. And then you did the corporate thing for a little bit. And then you sort of transitioned back into working with high level athletes and other coaches. So I'm curious, sport has obviously played an important role in your life. It still does. What is the biggest lesson that you've taken from sport that you still apply to your life today?
Never quit. Never quit. And you kind of you get that from sports, and football players are particularly stubborn for not quitting even past the point of lunacy, right?
Yeah.
So I would say, again, just don't quit. Things happen. Things may not work out the way you wanted to, but life keeps going and the world keeps going, so you can't quit, right?
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest thing that I've kind of carried with me from my sports life to other lives, my corporate life and all these others, is just don't quit. Like, even if you're down to your last positive thought, man, just don't quit.
And I love that you share that, right? Like that persistence muscle, right? And I love it. And, in the book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill talks about like that persistence muscle is so strong, right? Like you have to have that to be great, right? No ifs, and, or buts. So I'm curious, you're an owner of, in the fitness industry.
Yes.
Your industry has been challenged the last year and a half, right? Like it's sort of been this roller coaster, ebbs and flows, challenge, obstacles, setbacks. How has that persistence muscle helped you during the last 18 months, last couple of years?
Well, we're in such uncharted territory with this whole pandemic, and it came out of nowhere. Like, pretty much we opened in December 2019, and the pandemic was 3 months later, pretty much. And it's just such uncharted territory, man. The biggest thing has been, again, not quitting. I've had quite a few suggestions, through my team and through loved ones, saying, yeah, maybe it's not a good time to be in fitness. Maybe you should just cut your losses, close down, just go online. And I didn't really want to do that. It didn't feel right. So I just didn't quit, man. I didn't quit. I found ways to kind of increase our influence and let people know what we're doing. We've had to find new ways to try to reach athletes that were now basically all at home. And it was, and you learn things, going through that, you learn things. And just kind of speaking to people online and connecting with people online and connecting with, old friends and stuff. Bro, that's how I found your Instagram page. Right? I was like I remember the day. I was like, yo, Sui, what's Sui doing?
Yeah.
And I see you meeting with all these people and talking with all of these really dynamic people. And that, it's just one of those, like, I look back on the fact that, yeah, like, instead of packing it in, I kept on pushing and networking, and it allowed me to reconnect with you, which is great.
And it's interesting, what I really heard from you was that ability to sort of reset, right? And that's kind of one of the beauties, I think, of football. And again, I know that that's what connected us initially, is you have a play every 6 seconds, right? Like the majority of time. So you have the play, and high performers, successful people, they have the ability to sort of next play mentality, right? Like they forget what happened on the last play, right? I win, or I learn, and that's it, right? And that ability to refocus is so important in life.
Yes, absolutely.
So here, I'm curious for you. You said you had to sort of find, opportunities to connect, to share your message, right? To show how this is how I'm choosing to show up and serve others. What goes on, right? Because again, this is where I'm sort of fascinated by. You are in an industry that's been challenged. What drives you where, you have people, loved ones, friends that have your best interests at heart, that want to see you succeed, but they're telling, Brendt, like, I don't know. What keeps you going? Like what's the dialogue that's going on in those moments where it just feels like, I don't know, like, I'm curious, like, tell me what's the self-talk like?
Okay, so in order to explain that, I got to give you a little bit of background here, right? So, two major companies that are part of this umbrella are Redline Athletics, which is our athletic training facility, right? And then we also have Athletic Eatery, which is our nonprofit arm, right? So Athletic Eatery, our thing is athletic support. Our product is athletic support. So we have a number of campaigns that we run that basically try to make things easier for athletes, right? So our flagship program is the Hydration Initiative. So we basically go to sports venues and we provide hydration for the athletes involved, right? So we work with various organizations, Toronto Ultimate Club. We work with various organizations that basically allow us to attend their events. We have our hydration center, big tent, missing station, all that stuff. And then we distribute the water to the athletes, right? So this is just one of the things we do, but basically the goal is to create a support system for athletes that hasn't exactly existed before, right? And if you're a high level student athlete, like what we're used to, right? You have schools that are very good at providing support for athletes. Western is awesome with, the grants and all the other services that school offers as athletes. But I'm trying to do something that is not exactly through the school, right? This is a body on its own where whatever your station as an athlete, you can get help, whether you need help with concussion management, whether you need help with your hydration, whether you need help with finding a position, finding a job, like anything, right? So my drive, to get back to your original question, my drive is I want to see this support system roll out across Canada. Like I have a goal to see a national program here where we have hydration and we're hydrating athletes and making sure that nobody gets dehydration and all sunstroke and all these things, heat stroke and stuff like that. So I in my mind's eye, I see, Athletic Eatery at all of these different homecoming games, championships, stuff like this. And with Redline, we just want to provide a haven for athletes to come and train, right? That we're all about high level training and just letting people come and do their thing. We also train the athletes, of course, but we rent the space out. We let athletes come and train rather than going to a good life and, or somewhere distracting where there's a lot of people, et cetera, et cetera. So between those two companies, really, like that's the goal. The goal is just to create a system where athletes can come and train anytime, 24 hours a day, 24/7. Or they can go and get hydration from Athletic Eatery or other things that we offer 24/7.
I love that, brother. And I love that you shared, this bigger vision, right? Like you have the profit arm, you have the non-for-profit arm. And what I really heard from you there was what kept you going during that challenge, obstacle, setbacks. Because again, it would be easy to tap out there. But that's why I love, as you were talking about, like that athlete mindset. When you've played at a high level, you learn that no, there's like, you can turn pain right into your purpose.
Yes.
And what I heard from you there was the Athletic Eatery, Redline Athletics, it became bigger than you. So you just knew you had to show up to serve the athletes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Absolutely. Athletes, we usually have support systems that involve our families, siblings, friends, and stuff like that. And it's great, but it doesn't always provide the support needed. Um, Certain areas of your career, certain times of your life as an athlete, you need a little bit more support. And that's what we're trying to do, man. That's what I'm here for.
Okay. So you mentioned you have it. I know we've chatted before. You have a number of different ways in which you're supporting, the hydration, right? In terms of jobs, what has been, I'm curious, the one initiative that maybe has brought you the most joy? I know they've all brought you joy, but what's that one where you look back and go, like it brings a smile to your face. It just speaks to your heart. You're just like, it just reminded you, this is why I had to take this journey.
Well, you know what? I would say the hydration initiative, man. Like I love when I even when I used to play, like I try to take care of my teammates, hand guys water, stuff like that. Even though you're worried about what you're doing, when you go in next and when you're on the field again, and you worry about your own stuff. But I've always, cared enough about my bros to try and make sure that they drink too, so that none of us get heat stroke and dehydrated, stuff like that. So um, I draw great pleasure from being able to make sure that people are on point, they, drinking their water and staying strong, staying alert. So kind of seeing how the hydration initiative has unfolded and how some teams and some programs have come to really embrace it, and they like the water and they like having that water available when they're training. Like it gets me excited, man. I love seeing it happen, and I love seeing it grow.
It's interesting, like as you share, what really came up is it combines some of your passions, your passion on how to really, optimal peak performance for the body, right? To give it what it needs, the support it needs. But then it's also this greater one about being of service, of truly helping, extending your hand to another human being, right? And mirroring those two, service the human body. And it sort of birthed this new hydration initiative.
Yes, I think that's a great way to explain it. We're trying to help in the most important way, which is nourishing yourself, and making sure that you're healthy, right? So we just provide that platform where you can get some high quality H2O, like Bobby Boucher would say.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So I'm curious, you mentioned that, there have been some teams and clubs and organizations that have been very open and very supportive of this movement, right? This initiative. What has the response been like? Like what is it something that people just need to be aware of, or like, are people ready for, this different way of thinking from your experience?
I've found that there's been such a wide spectrum, of response to this sort of program.
Yeah.
Some organizations love it, and they are all about getting that hydration piece outsourced, because coaches have enough on their mind. Like coaches are worried about game prep, game flow, all that stuff. Players are worried about the same. Nobody really drinks as much as they're supposed to, so it's like having somebody take care of that and make sure, like, nudge guys, put a bottle in their hand, stuff like that. Like that's I think that's what's needed, man. Like OIFA, which is an amazing organization, and Olivia, chairperson, they've been great. They've really embraced what we're trying to do, and we plan on providing hydration for some of the OIFA events. They've been awesome. Toronto Ultimate Club, Ultimate Disc Club has been awesome as well. And we're looking to work with a few other disc programs within CIS and OUA. And I think I think it'll be good, but we've also come across organizations that don't want to spend money on water. They're like, nah, they're like, it's okay, just we'll give them the Nestle or
Yeah.
tap water or whatever. But the thing is a lot of organizations use Gatorade and use these other additives, and
Mhm.
it can create issues in the long term, right? Like my Gatorade addiction.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of athletes like that, male and female. They've been drinking Gatorade for so long that it's hard for them to stop, and it's like it's not really healthy for you, especially if you're not um, experiencing the exertion that you
Yeah.
that you may have in sport, right? So
Yeah.
you know, rather than spending money on that sort of thing, like I kind of prompt organizations to, get some solid water, get some, oxygenated water, get some alkaline water, some of the things that we offer. And like some people are cool with it. Some people are looking at this as a whole new paradigm,
Yeah.
but others are kind of in the past a little bit, and they're not interested. They're like, no, we're
Yeah.
just going to do what we've been doing, and we'll just keep going that way. You know.
It's interesting that you share that, right? A couple reasons why I find it interesting. I chatted with Olivia in the huddle earlier this week, and we were chatting about, just the experience with women's football and the different avenues. So that was the one. So it just reminds me of life is all divine timing, right? Like things happen when they're supposed to. Second, I realize, the disc, the women's football, these are very progressive. These are very innovative changes that are happening in the sports world. So
Yes.
it's interesting that because those organizations are sort of in this process of growth, of change, of innovation, of pushing, like you said, those paradigms of what, of the old ways of thinking, they're
Yep.
more open to bringing in new ideas such as yourself.
Yes, yes, yes. There's definitely a connection there. These sports, they're not exactly what I would consider like a ground floor sort of thing. They've been around for a while, and they have a very dedicated following because they're established. It's just that the sports world is not 100% ready for them yet. They're still somewhat in the fledgling state because they're a new paradigm, right? And through Redline, Athletics Canada, and through Athletic Eatery, we sort of represent slightly different standards, I guess, from the norm. Like we have a hydration program. We have a hydration program, and we're all about getting athletes to drink water. And no one's really done that to that degree. And we've planned to really explode this concept, right? And then with Redline, we still carry weights. We still use all sorts of different resistance training options, but there's certain things that we're not really into. Like we don't have a bench, right? We have other alternatives to building the shoulder girdle and the upper body power, because benching can create issues over time. So we don't really have a lot of machines. We don't really prompt our athletes to lie down in order to get stronger. Like we have a lot of ground-based, standing strength movements, strength training movements, where you exert your power against the ground, right? And again, we see it as somewhat of a new paradigm because we're not prompting our athletes to get down on their back in order to work that vertical strength, where we want standing, right? So between the ways that we work with athletes in Redline and the way that we're trying to help athletes with Athletic Eatery, we just find that it's exciting to work with these organizations that are also trying to get out there and spread the glory of their sport and culture, right? So it works perfectly. And we plan on working with a lot more traditional sports and traditional models as well. It's exciting to lead with these guys. It's exciting to get into it with these organizations that you've mentioned.
Yeah. Well, it's what I love about that is just like that simple idea of, a closed mind can't accept new ideas, right?
Yes.
And like a mind has to be open for possibility to happen, right? For new experiences, for new people, for new opportunities. So that's what I'm really getting a sense of, is just how open to possibility you are. So I'm curious, around the same time we connected, I started to connect with some other people in the sport community, specifically the football, that are looking to bring some of these new ideas and these new ways of serving athletes, these new ways of growing the game, and just about innovating and adapting. In your opinion, why is it so important that we start to give more people a place at the table, right? To be open to new ideas as we sort of embark out of this last, we'll just say, interesting time in human history.
Well, I love football. I love working with athletes. I love working with all athletes and working on, power and explosion, fast twitch, mental training, stuff like this, right? But I have a special passion for football, and I think football is in danger, right? And when I say football is in danger, I think football is in danger of dying, and there are a lot of people that say that football is dying. I don't think football is dying, but I think football is changing, right? And in this whole, cancel culture, there are certain things that have typically been a part of the football culture that that just it can't happen anymore, and I think, back in the day, when I was younger, or kid or whatever, ignoring water and ignoring hydration was commonplace. Like, you didn't get to drink unless you earned it, right? And it's like, I mean, it makes tough athletes, but not everybody makes it out of that situation in a healthy way. There's been a lot of, heat stroke issues and dehydration issues. We've lost people, and I feel that that all of that has to change, and it is changing. But it's just, the onus is still on the coaches, and the onus is still on the program to take care of these things. And it's kind of a lot to worry about when you're running a football program. So this is why we try to get involved, because it's needed,
Yeah.
and in order for football to be allowed to grow and continue to change, these sort of things have to be nipped in the bud. You can't have people being dehydrated and
Mhm.
not able to function the next day, or having to be put on IVs and all this kind of stuff. That's not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
So,
No, it's interesting that you bring up that idea about, simple things, right? Like, again, things grow and evolve, right? And like you said, there, that used to be the idea that water makes you weak, right? It's like almost laughable now when you think about it.
absolutely, man.
But when I think of like the 20 years of coaching, especially as I saw this, our understanding and awareness of concussions start to come up, I remember saying to athletes, like, you have to be on point with your hydration, your nutrition, your sleep, because we are in a day and age where, one, I have a responsibility to make sure you are, well, but you need to understand that if you're not taking care of, hydration, food, like, those signs can get, mistaken for concussion. And then all of a sudden you're going down a different path. So it's just interesting. Like, it's really, it's putting the athlete at the center, but really making sure that we understand and really make sure that it doesn't get blown up into a bigger issue that it needs to be.
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, man. Like, food is important. Like, food is important. Sleep is important. All these things are important. But I think that the hydration piece is the thing that can make the most difference in the fastest amount of time,
Yeah.
right? Most of us are, especially as student athletes, most of us are sleep deprived, right? most of us, have some sort of issue with food. Maybe we can't eat before games, or we don't eat during exams, or something like this. And our bodies adjust to these things somewhat. But water, dude, if you don't drink water this morning, by this afternoon, you're having a problem. You can't even think, right? So it kind of makes it the most important thing, but people do not see it as the most important thing. Right. And that's where we come in, man. That's where we come in to try and provide that awareness and let people know just how important it is and just what it can affect. Like just like you said, concussive symptoms can often be, mistaken for concussion when it's a dehydration thing, right? Um, Depression. You'll have athletes going through all sorts of depressive episodes. It's because they didn't drink.
Mhm.
They didn't drink water. And there's a whole day before practice, and there's a whole morning before practice, and like afternoon and night after practice where you have to be hydrated. So that's yeah, it's important stuff, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. It's just, it's fundamentals, right?
Yes.
So I'm curious, as we come out of this time, I'm curious, you support athletes, right? Like I view what we're doing here, these conversations. I mean, we all have the same interest and passion. We want to support and serve athletes. I'm curious for you, what needs to happen for us to continue to grow this game? Whether it be at the city level, whether it be at the provincial level, what do we need to do in order to really help introduce this game to more people, right? To share this beautiful game and all these inherent life lessons that we've gotten from this game. Like how do we grow this game?
So, okay, so this is the thing. So football is growing and changing right now, as we've, established, right? Um, so what that means is the touch game exploding, right? The flag football game exploding. You have Coach Cannon at Elite Football Training, and he's taking things to a new level in Canada, right? You have other places as well. You have West Toronto Prep, the guys over at Football North, off the block football. Like these guys are helping. They're helping to develop, the touch side of football, and that's great because less concussions. I mean, in theory, right?
Yeah.
Less concussions, a lot safer, right? It allows people to walk away from the game without sometimes debilitating injuries, right? Which is great. The issue is we still have to deal with a lot of the problems that we're experiencing within football that we haven't really found a collective solution for, right? Concussions, right? I don't want everyone to stop playing tackle football and everybody move to flag or touch because we don't solve the concussion issue within our community, right? So these are the kind of things I think need to be dealt with. And the hydration initiative, concussions are exacerbated by dehydration, right? So, and I think it's pretty safe to say that they can be prevented with adequate hydration. So this is why, hydration is one thing, but we're also trying to deal with the concussion epidemic because it truly is an epidemic within the sport. And I think concussions could be the death of tackle football. You got the GOAT himself, Brady, saying that, look, my kids are not going to play football, right? And we'll see, obviously, but I don't want that to be an option. Like, I don't want that to be an option, man. Like, these kids need to play football. Kids need football.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just a matter of dealing with some of these things that are creating such an issue within the sport. Right. So I think that if we can save tackle, right, by focusing on some of these things, I think that it will allow the preservation of tackle and it'll just help feed people into the other iterations of the sport.
Yeah. Well, I love that. And a couple reasons why I love what you were sharing. The barrier to entry, right? We're looking from an economic standpoint. I've had some conversations with some of the people you mentioned, Coach Cannon, Coach Mundell at West Toronto Prep, right? And all these, we need to look at the economics of football, right? Like not everyone can afford to play travel football, right? Not everyone can drop $1,000 or do that. So I love that flag to me. And I had this conversation with Olivia. It's a lower cost of entry, right? And I love that it just allows people an easier entrance into the game.
Yes.
And the other thing that I love that you mentioned, I love how you were talking about, off the block and all these, it's giving people who have maybe a different experience, different areas of the city or for the province, a place at the table, because then it shows those young people in those communities, hey, this is what this game can do to you. It can be your ticket to higher education. It can be connections that you never even knew before. And it just really, it's the keys potentially to a better life, right? And to change your family tree. So I love everything you're talking about.
Yes. Yeah, it's I love the fact that the football community in Canada, and just, let's just tone it down. Let's talk about Ontario. There's so many sects within the football community of Ontario, just OUA jurisdiction, that I think it's important to find ways to use the commonalities between the organizations and somehow have us unite in certain ways, right? And I feel like that is the way to save the game, and that is the way to preserve the game, and that's the way to create programs that'll help athletes transition from flag and touch into tackle.
Mhm.
I think those kind of things are important.
Mhm. And I think the bigger thing that it really helps is I think it gives more representation of different voices, right? Different people, shared experience. Like we've all had the shared experience of how beautiful this game is. But I think when you just share and you give more people a place at the table, it makes it more relatable to other people, right? And that's whether it's females, whether it's the BIPOC community, whether it's just new immigrants, it's just so it has to happen. Simple as that.
It has to happen, absolutely. And there's so many dynamic individuals that like I don't know. There's something about a football mind that just makes a person so much more dynamic than everything else.
Yeah.
And some of these great coaches that are, they're part of this WhatsApp group, or they're part of this Facebook group, or they're part of this coaching community. And it's like, I'd love to be able to help get their message out, and through Athletic Eatery, we celebrate a lot of different coaches, different coaching styles, stuff like this. And that's the whole premise behind it. It's just sharing these dynamic views with other people that haven't seen it, because you got some crazy coaches out in BC.
Yeah.
And they're people, they're coaches that people in Ontario may never ever see. And it's like, that's not right. You got Okanagan Sun, you got all these powerful organizations out there, and there are people in Ontario that will never know about this. There are people in, and these are the kind of things that I think need to change as well. But it's not a problem per se, but I just think that it would help make the community stronger if we were able to connect these minds and let people see what's happening with these different, coaches and leaders, all over the country.
Well, I think you bring up a great point. What I heard from you is, and that was one of the drivers behind, starting this podcast, The Huddle, was to just give people a platform to share the stories. And it was just really to help people understand that successful and highly effective people, it's not what they do, it's how they think. And I think when you really strip it all away, anyone that's looked at The Huddle, Success in the game of life, whether it's on the football field, whether it's in your career, relationships, health, it really starts with how you think. And when you get that, when you get your mind right, the results take care of itself. Right?
Yeah, absolutely, man. And bro, the huddle, it couldn't be. Listen, man, I gotta tell you, I love what you're doing. Again, I gotta tell you again, man, because sometimes you don't get, you don't get the right props, right? But I gotta give it to you, man, because the huddle is an amazing name, and us as football players, we know what goes on in the huddle, right? It's like the whole world happens in that little huddle, in that little section of time, those few seconds before. It's like there can be an argument, there can be a teaching moment, there can be an admission, there can be so many things that happen, and it all has to happen fast. This is the most dynamic kind of communication that you can have in that huddle. So for you to name your podcast a huddle and call the program the huddle, I think is great, man. It's like a perfect way to facilitate real conversation. So I love it, man. Love it.
I love it. Well, that's the one beauty of, coming from the Western football lineage is that, I think of what Coach McKay talks about, right? It's paying homage. It's paying homage to the things, and, the huddle, is really about paying homage to these life lessons that are embedded, that I've had the pleasure of through football, right? And connecting with great people like you in my life. So yeah, no, I appreciate that, brother. Thank you.
Western football tradition, strongest tradition in the CIS. Every Thursday we have to run that hill. We gotta run that little hill. We gotta touch that tree. And Coach Haler, who was, he was the king when I was playing. Coach Haler would talk about how there are so many football ghosts on this hill because every player who ever played at Western would run this hill on Thursdays and touch that tree. And to be a part of something like that completely blew my mind, changed the way I look at culture, period. Not just football culture, changed the way I look at culture, period. And it's important to, some of these other schools, they don't get it, man. They're playing checkers. We play chess. We play chess at Western, the psychological, the weight of just understanding that you're part of a greater legacy. It means everything, and just in terms of drive, it's something that you take with you. There's a word that it was in an indigenous language, orenda, right? The word orenda, and it's basically the concept of honoring all that came before you. Right. And there wasn't really a translation for it in English. And I think that they discovered the word, academia discovered the word somewhat, I don't know, maybe in the last 100 years or something like this. Right. But it's the most important thing, because honoring what came before you, man, that's what gives you strength. Like if you think about your family lineage, and you honor what came before you, like, Ebenezer Barrett, try to honor what he stood for, the old man, great grandfather. And then you kind of try to live your life the right way because you want to keep that energy going, right? And it gives you strength, right? Same thing like when you're part of a storied football program, right? Same thing. So
I love it, brother. I heard, play for something bigger than you, right? And that applies to all areas of life.
Absolutely.
So, brother, I have one last question for you. As we were talking about, the last 18 months has been an interesting time in human history. What it's reminded us is that challenges, setbacks, obstacles, they are part of the game of life. It's not that we want to expect them, but we just understand they will pop up from time to time. So I'm curious, what is a suggestion, a piece of advice that you would give someone that's maybe going through a challenging time right now? One focused action that they could take today to get back on their feet, to create some positive momentum and just get back on their journey to greatness, what would you offer them?
The first thing I would say to anybody that's going through anything, any kind of troubling time, first thing, take a deep breath, have a sip of water, and believe in yourself even when no one else does. You know, you can't lose a belief. You gotta believe in yourself. So that's it. Simple.
Simple. Keep it simple, simple.
Yep, simple, man. Just get that water in
Yeah.
and believe in yourself, and that's it. Right? Whatever it is that you choose to do, whatever it is that you need to do, whatever it is that you do, believe in yourself.
Love it. So, brother, how can our community support you? How can people connect with you? How can people support Redline Athletics, the Athletic Eatery? What is the best way for people to connect?
We're out here, man. You can find us on Instagram at Redline Athletics Canada, at Athletic Eatery. We have an online store. We sell our water online, so we'd love to get it to whoever needs it. Athleticeatery.ca. But just find us on Instagram, find us on Facebook, Athletic Eatery on Facebook, Redline Athletics Canada on Facebook, and we'll go from there.
Yeah.
We love to connect with the community. We love to hear from people. We love to make things happen. So give us a shout.
I will thank you for sharing, brother, and we'll be sure to share it all on the description section of the podcast, on Facebook, on YouTube, and just help build the bridge, brother.
Okay, that sounds great, man.
So I really want to take a moment just to acknowledge you. I want to acknowledge you for the man you are, the dad you are, the coach, the mentor, the brother, that Western brother, but most importantly, the great human being you are. The one thing I've really come to appreciate and seeing you since we've reconnected is just how much you want to serve people, how you want to support people on their journey in whatever capacity they need, whether it's through the training, whether it's through hydration, whether it's connecting them with a job. It really reminds me that that's what gives life meaning, is when we truly give ourselves to be in service of others and helping other people reach their next level of greatness. So thank you for that reminder, brother. And I'm so enthused that we've been able to reconnect.
Thank you so much, man. Thanks for having me on here, and thanks for talking to me. And keep up the great work, man. You're doing awesome, man. Bro, back in Spanish class, 20 years ago, I didn't know it turned into this, dude. I didn't know that, like we'd be working together to spread the positive energy, man. And it's awesome, man. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of what you've been doing, and I'll see you soon. I'll see you one of these days. We'll hook up.
I love that, brother. So here is my challenge to each of you. As I remind you every time in the huddle, knowledge is potential power. It's the consistent and focused application of that knowledge that actually creates great results. Coach shared so many valuable nuggets of wisdom. Take one of them and go do the work and apply it to your life today so you can reach your next level of greatness. Have an amazing rest of your day, and we will chat next time in the huddle.